Hello anybody, and thanks for tuning into Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a 2026 Kentucky Derby Prospects video where I'm going to be taking a closer look at one of the upcoming Kentucky Derby contenders. And the horse that I'm covering today is a horse by the name of Nearly, whose sire is Not This Time, whose dam is IB Prospecting, whose dam sire is Mineshaft, the trainer is Todd Pletcher, and the jockey is John Velasquez. So here's just a quick look at some of the Kentucky Derby prospects that I've covered so far. Here's the video number and the horse name followed by the date that these videos were published. Just keep in mind at the date that they were published because obviously as their careers go on, they're going to have more races, more news will come out about them. But if you're interested in any of these runners as of now, here's just a list of the ones that I've covered, so feel free to take a look. So as of now, February 2nd, 2026, Nearly was purchased for $350,000 as a yearling in 2024 by Centennial Farms. He's currently tied for first with 20 points towards the Kentucky Derby, and by rule of thumb, you're going to need about 50 points to enter the race. Future odds for the 2026 Kentucky Derby on this horse dropped from 40-1 to 10-1 after his win in the Grade 3 Holy Bowl. He has 4 career starts, 3 wins, no seconds or thirds, with $392,000 in career earnings. And former 2026 Kentucky Derby favorite Ted Nafi is recently off the Derby trail, so the field feels a bit more wide open at this point. So I'm going to start trying to cover as many horses as I can. So looking at the pedigree of Nearly, the sire or father, Not This Time, was homebred by the Albaugh family stables. Not This Time had 4 career starts, 2 wins and a second, with $454,000 in career earnings. All 4 of his races were on the dirt, with his longest win at 8.5 furlongs, or a mile and a 16th. At the route distance, so a mile or greater, he had 3 career starts, 2 wins and a second. He was a Grade 3 winner, Grade 1 place in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Only raced 4 times as a 2-year-old, then retired due to a soft tissue injury. Has sired 3 Kentucky Derby entrants, including the 2nd and 4th place finishers in the 2022 Kentucky Derby. He is the sire of 2026 Kentucky Derby contender Blackout Time, a horse that I have covered already. His stud fee has gone up from $45,000 in 2022 up to $250,000 in 2026, and this just speaks to the demand of his runners. They're obviously getting a nice return on their investment with his offspring, so he is producing some high-quality runners and horses that can win races. The dam or mother of Nearly, a horse named IB Prospecting, was purchased for $110,000 as a yearling in 2015, had 9 career starts, 2 wins and a second, with $41,000 in career earnings. Both of her wins were 6 furlongs on the dirt, so 3/4 of a mile, 1-turn races. Has produced 2 runners. The other runner had 13 career starts, no wins, 2 seconds and a third. The dam sire, so the father of IB Prospecting, a horse named Mineshaft, 18 career starts, 10 wins, 3 seconds and a third, $2.3 million in career earnings. His first 7 races were in Europe, so I'm going to disregard those. Hard to find a lot of information on those. But coming to America in dirt routes, he had 11 dirt routes, so a mile or greater, 8 wins, 2 seconds, no thirds, 2 wins at 10 furlongs, which is a mile and a quarter, which is also the same distance of the Kentucky Derby. He also has 1 win at 9.5 furlongs, so a mile and 3/16. A 4-time Grade 1 winner with a 2nd place finish in a Grade 1. Expect him to pass on speed and stamina. So looking at the connections of Nearly, the trainer Todd Pletcher has a career win rate of 22% from 27,000 starters. A graded stakes win rate of 18% from 4,500 starters. In the Kentucky Derby, he has 2 wins, 2 seconds, and 4 thirds from 65 starters, a record if true. It was hard to verify that, but apparently he's had 65 starters in the Kentucky Derby. He's an 8-time winner of the Eclipse Award for Outstanding Trainer. He was inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame in 2021. He ranked 14th in wins last year and 5th in earnings last year. The jockey John Velasquez, career win rate of 18% from 38,000 starts. Graded stakes win rate of 18% from 3,800 starts, so very consistent in the highest levels of racing. In the Kentucky Derby, he has 3 wins and 2 seconds from 27 starts. He finished first aboard Medina Spirit in 2021, but was later disqualified, so you could say he has had 4 Kentucky Derby wins. Has competed in every Kentucky Derby since 2007, so his services are definitely wanted. Inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame in 2012. He's a 2-time Eclipse Award winner for Outstanding Jockey and ranked 61st in wins last year and 5th in earnings last year. And the discrepancy here is worth noting. While he doesn't ride every race, when he does ride, he's riding very well enough to be 5th in earnings. So with his limited selection of rides, he rides very well and has earned the 5th in earnings as of last year. So now looking at the races of Nearly, his debut race was October 26, 2025 at Aqueduct. We'll do some notes about the race, watch the replay, and then look at some of the contenders that he ran against, see what talent level of horses he's beating. So this race is 6.5 furlongs on the dirt, a fast track, a maiden special weight. He breaks a half step slow from post number 6 of 6. He is the number 7 horse, but he is on the far outside. There was 1 scratch in the race. He's urged to settle mid-pack by 3 lengths early. He's urged around the turn in the 3 to 4 pass, so going a little bit wide, losing some ground to those runners to his inside. outside. Loses ground in the stretch with a little bit of head tossing. Not overly urged in the stretch. 2 taps of the whip, some swing in and out, and we'll look at the head on for the stretch run. He finishes last in 6th place by 13 lengths at odds of 7-2, so was bet pretty decently on debut. And the splits for the leader in this race were 22.6, 23.2, 24.1, and 6.4 for the final 16th, which roughly translates to 25.5, plus any other additional slowing down. So a little bit quick early and gradually slowing down throughout, as you would expect. And this horse just was unable to make up any ground regardless. Again, it is his debut, so you can forgive a horse just trying to figure things out. But let's go ahead and watch that race now. So here we are, horse number 7 here on the far outside. So he just breaks a half step slow. Jockey's really urging him to get up near the leaders a little bit. Watch the body language of the jockey. No horses really in or around him. No traffic issues at this point. Jockey still just asking him to keep it up, keep up his speed. He's not desperate to go to the lead, but just having him maintain. Now you can see the arms really starting to flail. See what this horse has. Can he pick it up? It is debut race, so you can really forgive a lot of a horse on their debut, just trying to figure things out. Perhaps more of a training race more than anything. He veers in, maybe gets cut off just a little bit there. And here as we enter the stretch, he's going to actually fall off the screen, but I'm going to do the head on just to see how straight he's running down the stretch here. So let's switch over. So here we are in the back. Our horse is coming around the turn. I'll keep the cursor on him where he entered the stretch. You can see he veered in quite a bit when he got the feel of the whip. Jockey's not overly urging him, but he's starting to veer back out towards my cursor. So a little swing in and out. Nothing awful. Debut race. Again, a lot to forgive about a horse on debut, figuring things out. So looking at some of the others that he faced in this race, that first place finisher has 3 career starts, 1 win, no seconds or thirds. A horse named Epic Summer, a $77,000 purchase. This was his debut race. Ran 5th in 2 ungraded stakes since this race, in which Commandment and Solitude Dude won. And both of these runners are very talented, so to run 5th to them, sure, I would have liked to see Epic Summer be a little more competitive, but he was running against some very talented horses, and horses that I have a feeling I will be covering on this Kentucky Derby Prospects video shortly. Second place finisher, 3 career starts, a win in a second, a horse named Schoolyard Superman, $295,000 purchase. This was his second ever start. Broke his maiden in his next start, going 8 furlongs, improved speed figure significantly. So this is another horse that should be on the Derby trail soon. Improved greatly, stretching out in distance, doing a route race. Third place finisher, 4 career starts, no wins, a second and a third, a horse named Dark Assault, homebred and owned. This was his 3rd career start. Most recently finished 6th at the same track and distance. So this horse might just be a level below, but the top 2 finishers, very talented. No shame in losing to these runners, as I assume that at least one of them will be featured in a Kentucky Derby video shortly. Second start, November 22nd, 2025 at Gulfstream Park, 4 weeks after the previous race. 6 furlongs on the dirt, a fast track, maiden special weight for state bred, so horses that were born in Florida, which sort of just narrows down the competition pool. Cutting back a 1/16 of a mile from 6.5 to 6 furlongs. Breaks slightly inward from post number 7 of 8. We'll watch the head on. Comfortably stays within 2 lengths of the leader. Easily cruises to the lead, entering the turn in the 3 pass, so staying off the rail a little bit, losing a little bit of ground to horses to his inside. Veers in and out a bit, entering the stretch, but then straightens out. Wins by over 9 lengths at odds of 8-5, so bet down pretty solidly in this race. The splits for this race were 22.3, 24, and 24.6. Little fast early, but maintained their speed, relatively speaking, in the later stages. Only slowed down by a half second in the final quarter of a mile, so let's go ahead and watch that race now. So we're horse number 7 here. And you can see he just cuts in just a little bit, doesn't quite make contact with the horse to his inside, but does not get out in a straight line. Pretty subtle, but worth noting. So here we are on the outside here. You can see showing a little bit more speed out of the gate, sitting a little bit closer to the leaders this time. Right on the outside, can't really move in towards the rail as of yet. I don't see tons of horses hugging the rail at Gulfstream Park, so maybe a bit wider out is the place to be. But you can see he's really cutting into that margin easy. The jockey's not scrubbing on him the whole time like he was last race. This horse really matured quite a bit over the last 4 weeks coming into this race. You can see he goes to the lead. The jockey's not doing a whole lot. Of course, after this race, we're going to watch to see who he beat, how talented these runners actually are, how difficult of a win it was to win in this fashion. But you'll see he kind of ducks in a little bit as they enter the stretch. Maybe just switching leads, still only this second race. You can see he just swerved in just a little bit, now swerving out a little bit. Gets a feel of the whip, doesn't veer in so much like he did last race, but you can see the margin is just getting more and more, and goes on to win nice and easy. So who did he beat in this state bred race? Well, the second place finisher has had 3 career starts with a second place finish. Horse named Gus Swayze, homebred and owned. This was his debut, so first ever race. Again, you can forgive a horse a lot on debut. They're just trying to figure things out. This horse ran 4th on the dirt and 8th on the turf, routing in 2 races since. So switched the routes, different surfaces, but ran 4th and 8th. Third place finisher, 2 career starts with 2 third place finishes. A horse named Far Right, a $30,000 purchase. This was also his debut. Ran 3rd next and most recent start routing on dirt at Tampa Bay Downs. So that's a lower tier track, probably facing less stiff competition as you would at Gulfstream Park. But then again, this was a state bred race and he finished 3rd at Tampa Bay Downs. 4th place finisher, 4 career starts with a 3rd place finish. Dr. Jekyll, a $45,000 purchase. This was his 2nd start. 5th and 3rd, next 2 starts routing on turf and maiden optional claimer. So stretching out in distance, dropping down in class, and switching surfaces. This horse is still unable to get the job done. So not a ton of talent, but these horses are lightly raced. So let's continue on. 3rd start, January 2nd, 2026 at Gulfstream Park, 5 weeks after the previous race. 7 furlongs on the dirt, fast track, allowance optional claiming, so a step below ungraded stakes, but a little step above claiming races. Stretching out 1 furlong, so 1/8 of a mile longer than his previous race. Gets bumped into hard out of the gate from post 4 of 4, a very small field. He's number 6. There were 3 scratches in this race, and we'll watch the head on as he gets bumped very hard getting out of the gate. Falls back by several lengths early, but gradually cuts into the margin to be 3/4 of a length from the lead by the turn. This is showing an ability to ration his speed. The jockey's asking him to pick it up, but the horse isn't going all out, just casually picking up his speed. The jockey's able to maintain the speed. On terms with the leader halfway around the turn in the 2 to 3 pass, so again off that rail at Gulfstream. Has a 1 length lead as they enter the stretch. Runs straight throughout, no more veering in and out, no more swaying. So this horse is showing me that it is progressing. Wins easily under a hand ride by 5 lengths at odds of 6 to 5, so again bet down quite a bit. The splits for this race were 22.8, 23.8, 24, and then 12.3, which roughly translates to 24.6, plus any additional slowing down if they were to go another quarter. So this race was pretty quick up front, but these fractions later on are relatively even, not slowing down drastically. So that just tells me that this horse is able to carry that speed a longer distance as he's winning under a hand ride by open length. So let's go ahead and watch that replay now, starting with the head-on view. So again, very small field, but watch how hard this horse gets bumped. This horse comes in, totally knocks nearly off stride, but he's able to recover, get back on track, and we'll switch back to the other view to see how the rest of the race goes. So now we are in last by about 2, 3, almost 4 lengths now. Our horse is actually off the screen, but you can see a 3-way duel. These horses are going relatively quick up front. Our horse just sitting back, and this is where the jockey's just going to slowly get this horse to pick up his speed. Still on the far outside, in the clear. Probably doesn't need any more traffic in this race, but you can see he's just gradually coming up. The jockey's not urging him too much. He's just letting out the reins a little bit. This 4 horse that bumped into him, who got a little bit of a head start on him, now takes the lead, but the 6, nearly on the outside, just casually cruising up. Again, the jockey not asking for much. Fixes his goggles. Gets on terms with the leader very easily. Look at the body language of the jockey, just riding with the horse, letting the horse do this under his own control. Now he starts asking the horse to pick it up, keep going. And this is where he has about a 1 length lead. They enter the stretch. He's running much straighter. No swaying. Under a hand ride, a little tap of the whip, but he's just able to pull away from the field, quickening as he goes. So looking at some of the others in this race, that second place finisher, 2 career starts, a 1st and a 2nd. Horse named Confessional, $160,000 purchase. This was his 2nd and most recent start. Broke his maiden on debut in an 11 horse field at this distance. So this distance should have suited this horse. This horse beat 10 other runners in his first race. Seems like a pretty talented horse, and nearly beat him very convincingly. 3rd place finisher, 5 career starts, 2 wins, 2 thirds. Horse named Timeless Victory, $120,000 purchase. This was his 5th and most recent start. Won his race before this, going 1 mile on the same track and class level. So 2 wins and 5 starts, 2 thirds, a pretty solid horse here. 4th place finisher, 2 career starts with 1 win. Horse named Blame Yourself, $35,000 purchase. This was his 2nd and most recent start. Broke his maiden on debut on this track, going the same distance. So a horse that seemingly might like Gulfstream Park and might like this distance. And again, nearly just blew the doors off this horse as well. Most recent start for Nearly, January 31st, 2026, just a few days ago at Gulfstream Park, 4 weeks since the previous race. 8.5 furlongs on the dirt, fast track, the Grade 3 Holy Bull Stakes. This is his first time routing, so a mile or more around 2 turns, stretching out 1.5 furlongs further, or 3/16 of a mile than his last race. Breaks sharp from post number 5 of 6. Our horse is number 7. There were 3 scratches in this race. Goes into the first turn stalking the leader by a half length, about 3 to 4 wide, again off the rail at Gulfstream. Gets alongside the leader in the backstretch, cruising comfortably. Inherits the lead around the far turn, 3 to 4 wide, as the original leader begins to fade. He begins to pull away from the field in the stretch under primarily a hand ride, and he ran straight and dominantly. Wins by nearly 6 lengths at odds of 8 to 5 as the second choice, so he beat the favorite soundly. The splits for this race were 22.8, 23.1, 24.4, 27.1, and then 7.1 final 16th, which equates roughly to a 28.4 second final quarter. Now this is very slow, but they were going very fast. These are comparable fractions to the races he was running that were sprint races, so going much further this time, going that fast early and able to hang on and win very convincingly. Let's take a look at this race. So our horse number 7 on the outside gets a very nice break, breaks out in front with the horse number 5, Cannoneer, to his inside, one of the horses that is also on the Kentucky Derby trail. See how wide out they are from the rail? And this is just going to basically turn into a 2-horse speed duel early on. Sits off by he's about 3/4 of a length off the lead now. Comfortably cruising at this speed. The jockey's not asking for much on either horse really. They're just doing this under their own power. The horse is just casually creeping up, rationing his speed. When he goes up to get on terms, the jockey's not really pushing on him to pick it up. He's just subtly giving the horse the cue to go. Now he's on terms with the leader, just stalking him, which adds a lot of pressure to the horse in front. Can't really slow down, does not want to give that lead away. The jockey has to make sure that this horse stays on terms with the horse to his outside. That's the benefit of an outside draw in some races. So as you can see, the duel is on. And nearly on the outside, just casually going to the lead. Jockey's not asking him to go much faster. At least the body language doesn't indicate that. And you can see the horse to the inside, even though he's saving some ground, is starting to fall back. The jockey on the 5 is starting to scrub on him quite a bit. Right here, shaking the reins. He's not really responding. Nearly just still going strong after those fast early fractions. Nearly gets in the stretch. Again, off the rail. And he just starts to pull away from these horses that were trying to close. They are slowing down quite a bit late, but they're just unable to catch up to Nearly. And he pulls away and is separating late in the race. So looking at the others he beat in this race, the second place finisher has 3 career starts, 2 wins and a second, so never out of the top 2. Horse named Bravaro, a $95,000 purchase. This was his 3rd and most recent start. Won an ungraded stake at 8 furlongs or 1 mile at Aqueduct coming into this race off a 3-month layoff. 3rd place finisher, 4 career starts with a win, a 2nd, and 2/3, so never out of the top 3. Horse named Project Ace, a $40,000 purchase. 4th and most recent start. Came into this race off his maiden victory, going 8.5 furlongs on dirt at Churchill Downs. So one going a mile and a 16th against maidens coming into this race. 4th place finisher, 3 career starts, a win and a 3rd, Cannoneer, a $1.75 million purchase, 3rd and most recent start. Stepping up here, having broke his maiden in a 12-horse, 7-furlong sprint on dirt at Churchill Downs. Was 24-1 in Futures Pool number 3 before this race. So for the Kentucky Derby Futures Pool, the last time it closed out, this horse was 24-1 before this race. His odds probably creeped up a little bit with the dominant win by Nearly since then, but this horse is very talented, highly regarded, and Nearly put this horse away pretty easily. So very talented field that Nearly beat here, and that's just a testament to how good this horse could be. So that's all of his races. Now time for some positives and negatives, starting with the positives. Nearly has a classy pedigree and sired by Not This Time, whose stud fee has been going up over the years, so obviously there's a lot of demand for his runners. He's producing top quality runners, nice return on investment for those runners. And going back to the pedigree slide, this horse should enjoy the dirt and the distance of the Kentucky Derby. Should not be an issue. The sire has been producing Kentucky Derby contenders as of late. This horse is trained by a Hall of Fame trainer who has 2 wins, 2 seconds, and 4/3 in the Kentucky Derby. Again, with 65 starters, I need to double check that, but this just tells me that this trainer should know how to manage the horse and get him into the Kentucky Derby starting gate. He's ridden by a Hall of Fame jockey with 4 Kentucky Derby wins if you count that Medina Spirit disqualification. This horse can rate and ration his speed at the jockey's discretion, so this horse is pretty mature. He listens to the jockey's cues and gradually can pick up his speed and control his tempo without overexerting and wasting stamina within a race. His last 2 races were against formidable foes and demolished those fields, so this horse is rapidly improving. He has a high cruising speed and can carry at a distance that should benefit him in the Kentucky Derby, avoiding traffic. There's going to be 19 other runners in the race, so if you can get out pretty quick and leave most of them behind you, that's less horses that you have to run around later. He can stalk leaders in a fast pace without overexerting. Goes back to that rating and rationing. This horse just seems to listen to his jockey and can just pick up the speed just a little bit when he needs to. 4 of the last 12 Kentucky Derby winners came out of the Florida Derby, which is where Nearly seems to be aimed at. And the Florida Derby is 35 days prior to the Kentucky Derby. And the average day since last race of the last 12 Kentucky Derby winners before winning the Kentucky Derby is 32. If you go back in this playlist and watch video number 0, Kentucky Derby race pace and track profile, I go back over the last 12 winners and just look at some patterns of those winners. And 4 of the last winners came out of the Florida Derby. And of all 12 of them, before they won the Derby, their previous race was 32 days before the Kentucky Derby, so this timing just sets up very well for Nearly, should he run in the Florida Derby, that is. Now for some of the negatives, and I had to find some. He showed some veering in and out in his earlier races, so we just got to make sure that's cleaned up. Last couple of races looked pretty good, but we don't want to see any horses running sideways in the Kentucky Derby. He has yet to run in between horses or with significant kickback, so no horses in front of him. And this just goes to his running style. He likes to get out in front. He's been stalking horses from the outside. But if he draws an inside post in the Kentucky Derby and there's some other horses that get down in front of him, I'm just not sure how he would react to that at this point in time. He's unproven outside of Gulfstream Park. Again, 4 Florida Derby winners came out of Gulfstream Park, but his debut at Aqueduct was a pretty poor performance when he finished last. The Kentucky Derby could have a very fast pace if Cannoneer and Brant make the gate. He has a good jockey on him, but the pace could get very fast, going 10 furlongs or a mile and a quarter, leading to some late fatigue if this horse stays close to the pace early on and tries to make his move into that far turn. Like all the other contenders, this horse will need to keep improving, as the past 12 Kentucky Derbies average 1 minute and 36.8 seconds to the mile marker. In his last race at Gulfstream Park, which is a speed favoring track, he ran to the mile in 1 minute 37.4. Again, go back to that video 0, Kentucky Derby race pace and track profile, for a breakdown of the Kentucky Derby paces in years past. But like all other Kentucky Derby contenders, this horse will just need to keep improving, as he seems to be doing. So here are my rankings of the prospects that I've covered so far in this playlist. Of course, not all the contenders, just the ones that I've covered. I'm placing Nearly first on my list. He has great cruising speed and demolishing solid fields with ease, takes jockey cues well, and is clearly improving with each race. I put him number 1 because Litmus Test, my former number 1, was scratched from the Southwest Stakes on February 6th. I haven't heard a reason why this horse would aim for this race. Not necessarily a terrible sign, maybe just pointed for a different race. He is trained by Bob Baffert, and Baffert has tied the record for most Derby wins, so I'm sure he knows what he's doing. But just the fact that this horse was aimed for this race, I believe shipped out there and was scratched from this race, just kind of makes me wonder what's going on with this horse. This could be a 1A, 1B sort of situation, but as of now, with the recency bias of Nearly, I am going to place him number 1 over Litmus Test. And until I see more out of some of these other runners or hear some news about their next race, I'm going to leave this list as is, but this is always subject to change based on future races and future news and notes about each horse. And again, I've covered all these horses in my playlist, so if you're interested in any of these runners, feel free to go and take a look at those videos. And that's it for my video on Nearly. Thanks to everybody for watching. Feedback is always appreciated. Positive, negative, questions, comments, let me know what you think. I try to respond to everybody that I can. Please like, subscribe, and or share with friends, especially anyone who's kind of new to horse racing. I always mention my target audience is for folks that are relatively new to the sport, so if I explain things that seem redundant or overly simplified, I'm trying to make it easy for newcomers to understand what the sport is all about and what all the terms and nuances mean, and kind of what I look at when I watch a race, what the race is telling me, what to look for. Some things are pretty subtle, so I try to point everything out. But if you think I'm doing a good job, let me know in the comments below, or pass this video and this playlist along to some newcomers that you may know. If you do know some newcomers that want to learn more about the game, I have a couple of playlists dedicated to them. I could not find playlists like this when I first got into the game, so I thought I would take it upon myself to create them. One is how to read a racing form, and that's where I break down all the components of a racing form, talk about what it's telling you, how you can decipher it, and use it to make an informed decision on any race. I think that playlist is about 10 videos. Each video is just a couple minutes long, just simply explaining what it's telling you. The next playlist is betting on horse racing, and that's where I go over all the different bets that a track typically offers, explain what it is, how much it's going to cost you based on your ticket structure, how to structure your tickets differently based on a horse that I might like in a given sequence. So there's just a couple of playlists dedicated to newcomers. Again, very simple, very beginner friendly, but I think I do a good job of explaining everything to make everyone feel more comfortable should they go to the track for the first time. Coming up next, I do have a friend who's making t-shirts with this logo on the front. I think they look pretty cool, but if you want to support the cause, just reach out to me. I have some contact info on the next slide, or you can leave me a comment in the videos below. But if you're interested in a t-shirt, I can send you a picture of what they might look like. I'll do some more 3-year-olds for the 2026 Kentucky Derby Prospects video. Now that Ted Nafi is out, the field feels certainly more wide open, so I'm going to try to cover as many as I can. I'm aiming for a new video every 4 to 5 days, a week at most, and plenty of contenders and plenty of horses just getting their start. So plenty of horses to look at and to break down and try to rank them best I can. I may just handicap some upcoming races, let everyone know who I like and why real quickly, and can always resort back to the pedigree playlist where I look at the offspring of some prolific sires and just look at what their offspring like to do so that maybe you can get a little angle on a first-time starter before the public gets wary of them and bets their odds down into oblivion. But that's it for Nearly. Thanks everybody for watching. If you're playing the races this weekend, good luck, and I'll see you next time.